Hello and welcome to a CX Moment. I'm Roisin Hunt here with Zendesk, and we're so glad that you are with us here today. For anyone new to a CX Moment, these candid conversations are really an opportunity to share insights and experience from support leaders who are navigating the world and the strategy of support, and hopefully arming you with some practical wisdom that you can take back to your own teams. Today, we are joined by Jeanne Jones, the Global Director of Job Seeker Success at Indeed. Now, Indeed probably needs no introduction as the #1 job site in the world. You've probably seen the job postings, and maybe one or two of you have even found your latest opportunity through Indeed. Today, please be part of the conversation. We want to make this as interactive as possible for you. So if you have questions for Jeanne, pop them in the chat or leave your comments so we can bring them to be part of the conversation. Before we dive in, we would love to hear from you. If you have used Indeed in the past, what have been some of your favorite features? Is it that you can see job postings, some of the salary data, ranges and expectations, or that you can see company reviews? Or maybe it's just that you can have your resume up there and you're open to your next opportunity. Let us know in the chat and we'll bring those to the conversation as we go through today. All right, enough from me. Let's bring Jeanne into the conversation.
Hi, Roisin.
Hi, Jeanne. Thanks so much for being with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Super excited to be here. This has been a long time coming.
It sure has. And we're really excited to hear from you because I know that you've been doing a lot of really exciting things with your team at Indeed. So tell us about what you've been up to for the last year or 18 months.
Oh, gosh. The best way that I can describe it is we've been building a foundation for job seeker success. A little background on where the team at was when I joined the company about roughly a year and almost a year and a half ago. And those of you who know a little bit about Indeed, although we've been around since 2004, we've really started to scale over the last few years. And the organization that I'm in had started out as part of a client services organization. And that was the emphasis, and most of the foundational work processes and design was around the clients. And so it was identified there was a need to really hone in and focus specifically on our job seekers. And that's how the Job Seeker Success organization, we created its own operational function specifically for job seekers. And that is relatively new. That separation took place about 3 years ago. But when I joined the company about a year and a half ago, we were just in the beginning of phases of creating our own solid foundation for focusing on the unique needs of our job seekers.
And then how did you approach that strategy for building out this team?
Yeah, appreciate that question. We were really intentional about tapping into our agents and our employees to build out this strategy. One of the first things I did when I joined Indeed was spend a lot of time with all of our agents one-on-one, having conversations about what are the biggest challenges you're facing. If you could do anything different in the org design, what would that be? And really tapping into what was inspiring them, what they loved about their jobs, but importantly, what were the challenges and hurdles that they were facing every day? What were the impediments that our job seekers were facing that we needed to focus on? And through these conversations, we were able to really land on 3 problems that we were trying to solve. The first problem was that the team was lacking in identity. They had been pulled over from the client success team and were still practicing some of the same processes, workflows. Their day-to-day tasks were aligned with what we would expect to need to do to support clients. So they really needed their own vision for what support looks like for job seekers. And that was a really important area that we wanted to focus on. We also wanted to focus on having a data strategy. The team was very much a back-end service support, and they were generating data. Indeed is a data-driven company. It's one of our core values. There was lots of data being produced by the team, but where we were missing an opportunity was really being job seeker advocates and taking that data and turning it into insights and really becoming advocates for our job seekers. And then the third area, which started the conversation with Zendesk, was our Zendesk optimization. We realized that Zendesk was really a core enabler of us being very efficient and effective in what we're doing every day, and that Zendesk is also an enabler for that data strategy and all that we wanted to get in terms of generating insights for our stakeholders and on behalf of our job seekers. So those were the three problems that we set out to solve. And then we implemented a phased approach. We designed some gap analysis opportunities and really dug deep. This is another area. You might hear me highlighting the importance of tapping into our agents for insights. This was another area when we did these initial assessments and gap analysis that we really relied on all of the team members participating in that, so that we could be very clear on, if we want to solve these three problems, what are the gaps, what's preventing us from doing that, and what are our impediments. And then once we were able to identify those gaps and do the assessment, we put together like a vision statement and really named ourselves the job seeker advocates. And then we did a complete org redesign as a result.
Wow. So taking the data, not just collecting it, but actually making it valuable for your team, and then giving your team some identity, autonomy, and really elevating the role of those agents.
Exactly. And we actually, in addition to elevating, we completely repurposed the work that we were doing. The team was able to become more and more effective in identifying ways to allow our outsourced business partners to support what we refer to as the L1 and L2 tickets. And what that did was created the space for our existing employees to truly start focusing on operational process improvement and being involved in the analytical work. So now we had the capacity within our team to really take that data and dig deep and find new ways to stratify the data to come up with the insights that we need to be able to be a great business partner to our product managers and help give them really great insights on the job seeker experience.
Well, that's a great segue for a question from Jana in the chat. How did you start analyzing the data to gain the insights?
Yeah, there's a couple different approaches that we've taken. We didn't have our data visualized in a business intelligence tool. So that was one of the first things that we focused on, was building out dashboards that would enable us to start with the highest level of data. But when we would see an interesting trend or pattern, we could drill down and click through to get at that next level of insight. Mm-hmm. And one of the really important things that we did was initially centered around risk mitigation. We actually stood up a team that's called Ripple Risk Identification and Prevention Launchpad, with the intent to make sure that every day these individuals are going in and they're seeking out. It used historical data to set up thresholds to be able to predict what type of volume we should get on any given day at the product level. Mm-hmm. And so these individuals now can monitor and quickly spot if there's something going on with a product, to be able to go in, look at verbatims, understand what that trend is looking like, and be able to engage those product managers who can help, let's say, for example, it was a bug or a potential fidelity issue, reaching out to the right stakeholders to quickly collaborate on fixing those experiences. So I would say one of the most important things is to start with your risk mitigation tools. But then also, it's been my experience that the business intelligence tools are just really critical for contact center teams because they enable that efficiency. You should be able to see trends appear pretty quickly. And then one other element of data that I always like to stress is the importance of understanding sentiment and understanding what a normal threshold looks like, because you can have a really high volume of contacts, but it may be an issue that's not causing a lot of abrasion, and the experience isn't too disruptive. But on the flip side of that, you could have a really small volume of contacts come in on something that is causing just a ton of abrasion and potential risk type event that needs to be addressed very quickly. So trying to couple the data with some type of sentiment analysis, which we're not fully there yet. This is something that we're exploring better ways to do it, but really coupling that so that you're not just relying on the contact volumes and monitoring the thresholds, but you're really understanding the sentiment of the experience that the job seeker is having.
Yeah, and customer sentiment is definitely something that's on the up. We have research coming out from CX Trends in the new year, and that is an area that definitely is a focus point for businesses in the next year. So you're already ahead of the curve, Jeanne.
Well, we're working on it. We're exploring for sure.
And then, so when you talk about the narratives that came out of the data and managing volumes, I mean, when we spoke earlier, you talked about how it's not just about solving volumes of tickets, and you spoke to that just now. It's really taking a step back to think about how you can be more proactive, and volume doesn't equal efficiencies. Tell us more about that.
Yeah. And so the way that we've been trying to think about this is this concept of job seeker independence. And I have to give credit to one of my team members, Henrik in Dublin, who coined the terminology job seeker independence. It's something that we've been really thinking about as we're planning our goals for next year. Job seeker independence means we shouldn't have to have service tickets coming in at all. So not just focusing on the volume, but really focusing on the root cause of why we're getting these in the first place. Shouldn't our job be to never have any tickets, or at a minimum, never have any repeatable experiences that are coming into us with tickets, because we get so good at taking care of the job seeker on the front end that they're never going to need our support. And that's the type of independence that we're seeking. We're trying to start creating strategies in our help center where we can, using the data, really digging into the data and understanding the help center is a layer of data that we hadn't been intentional about in the past. Now we're able to see where are job seekers getting stuck. At what point are they needing to reach out for support? Why is the article in the help center not effectively doing what they need to do? And why are we not arming our job seekers with the tools they need to be successful on their own? An example is like password resets and uploading resume. We could give them a video tutorial instead of having to send in a ticket. Be right there, ready to help them in a way that's probably more appreciated by them than they would feel having to actually fill out a form and submit a ticket. So that's really kind of when we speak about volumes and insights, for us, the real emphasis in the next year is going to be getting at those root causes so that our job seekers can independently navigate our site and never need our help.
Well, that would be a great success metric if you did yourself out of a job for independence. But what are some of the success metrics that you use? Because you have to quantify this efficiency. So what are you using? And then how often are you reviewing these?
Yeah, we have a lot of the traditional foundational contact center type success measures around SLAs and first contact resolution and CSAT, and those are fundamentals for us. They're table stakes, and we're always monitoring them. But I think some of the work that we've been doing, our organization has been restructured to be an operational analytical hub. So what used to be agents servicing tickets are now employees who are focused on continuous process improvement. Mm-hmm. And we've implemented agile, operational agile. And one of the principles there is that if it's going to get on our backlog and going to get teed up as a sprint or an enhancement or a new workflow that we're developing, it's critical that we measure that. And the help center is a really good example of that. If we embark on an enhancement in the help center, we're going to count how many how many job seekers were going and using that article. And of those that were using the article, how many ended up needing to submit a service ticket for support. And our measurement would be the reduction of job seekers needing to submit tickets in those cases. But ideally, we'd like to get even further ahead of that. We'd like to say, why are they having to go to the help center in the first place? And that's where the really strong relationships with your business partners across the company come in, because we're taking the data and we're sharing the insights of job seekers needing to go to the help center for support, and then working with the product managers and saying, what can we do in the product so that this question is already answered for them? So they even need the support.
Well, you just answered Mary's question, because Mary asked, what kind of data do you look for in the help center to know when they're getting stuck in the articles? And those submission of tickets obviously give an indication of what's not fully clear or working for the job seeker.
Yeah. So it can be the volume of the sessions in the help center, deflection rate. You know, we want a really high deflection rate. We want to make sure that they're getting taken care of then and now. But I think the part that I know for me that hasn't been as much of a focus, that really, if you think about continuous improvement and getting to root causes, the more important piece of that is measure or understanding, why are they coming to the help center in the first place? Mm-hmm. How do we design our products in a way that they'll not need this? It'll be so intuitive, they won't need this help and support.
And then there's lots of questions in the chat. So something from Kayla, how do you measure deflection rate in different channels? Maybe tell us what channels you use first of all, and then how do you measure the deflection rate and what are you doing there?
Yeah, we have actually a couple different ways that we measure deflection, and that's something that I could share after this more specifically what that calculation is. But basically, we're looking at the number of sessions in the help center and what percentage of those job seekers that went to the help center did not need to submit a service ticket. And it's not a perfect calculation because you're making the assumption that they got the answer that they needed. In some instances, we have what we call light feedback, where the job seeker is able to go in and give a thumbs up or thumbs down. That is an indicator and an additional layer of data and measurement we can use to say the session was successful. That's how, when we're planning our needs for articles, if we have something that's trending low in success rate from the job seeker's perspective, that those are the top priority to go in and fix those. But there's a lot that you can also learn from the articles that are performing well. But that is, I would say, the deflection, just really taking a look at all of the sessions and then comparing it with how many job seekers that entered a session needed to submit a ticket as a basic way, but then also really understanding that what we call light feedback, that feedback that's coming in the middle of the sessions from the job seekers, where they're given the opportunity to weigh in on the service.
Yeah, so lots of different ways of measuring, not a perfect science by any means, but giving you a really holistic overview.
Yeah, and taking those all into consideration, right? I think when it comes to insights, it's so important that you have that big picture. Mm-hmm. This is one of the areas in our data strategy that we're really just starting to really deeply understand some of the correlations between the help center experience and the back-end service center experience and the social experience. Our social team resides in marketing. They're not part of the what I'm a part of, the job seeker operations team. So it's a close partnership. We want to be able to also consume their data and see and hear if the experiences that job seekers are having and they're expressing on social are consistent with the experiences they're having in the help center or with our service center.
And just one very quick question on this topic is from Gabby. How do you know how many support tickets were prevented by a help center article? Now, you may not have exact numbers, but does that feed into your overview, your holistic overview?
Yeah, it does. And this is where when you're setting goals, like, for example, I'm going to use 55. We have, for every 55 job seekers that have a session in our help center, or I'm sorry, for every 100 job seekers who have a session in our help center, 55 of them, we believe, because there wasn't a need for a service ticket, we believe their question was answered. We don't get this light feedback, the thumbs up or thumbs down on every session. There's millions and millions of sessions happening. So that is, again, it's a loose indicator. It's not precise because you don't know what their next step was. They could have logged off and not needed the additional support for whatever reason. It's not perfect, but that you look at the percentage of job seekers that you believe were successful in getting what they needed because it did not result in a service ticket.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
I
think that, yeah, we've spent a lot of time on that. So I think you've given us a very, very deep dive onto how you're managing that. And we are running out of time, believe it or not. So I want to make sure we get to some other areas, because I know that you have had the opportunity to essentially build this team from scratch. And, if you were able to give some advice to other teams that may be more established about incremental changes or shifts to agile operations and efficiency, what would be something that people should be focusing on?
Yeah, this is when you're not able to make a big, broad change like this, which was really so incredibly impactful for us. My advice would be to focus on really optimizing every area that you can influence and control, and really doing it in the spirit of continuous improvement. One of the things that we are talking about for our shoot for the moon goals, right? For the next year, we really want to aim big and be courageous. And one of the things that we've been bouncing around is 0 non-value added work. And this goes hand in hand with agile principles. You're constantly focusing on the most value-added, impactful work, and that you're being very thoughtful about deprioritizing and keeping on a backlog work that is not going to create the most value and have the most impact for the organization. And that's why Agile fundamentally, and using Asana, we use Asana as our tool to visualize all of our work. It's so important, because on any given day when agents or your team members are not clear on their priorities, that lowers employee engagement. If you can drive that clarity in a consistent way and have it be like in ours, it's 3 weeks on and then a week of planning, 3 weeks on, a week of planning. This is something we've really recently introduced. That clarity during those 3 weeks for every employee, this is my mission. This is what I'm going to focus on. So really thinking about how can I continually improve every day what I influence and what I can control. It's way too easy to go a week and then 2 weeks and a month with doing what you've been doing and not taking that intentional time to think about, how do we get better? What can we improve on? Everything can always be enhanced. There's always room for improvement, but you have to really be intentional about taking the time to think about what is next and how can I improve.
Absolutely. And I see that intentionality and purpose as a theme, like from the small things to the big thing, your overall strategy and building the team from scratch.
Yeah.
Final question, well, two questions. What has been the impact of this approach on the agents themselves, like in their position, like how they show up? What's been the impact?
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked this question, because we've hit on a couple times the importance of this agent role. Our team members are all now have been in our reorganization. They have now been put in new job profiles where they're focusing on operational analytics and continuous process improvement. And who better to do that job than the individuals who were living and breathing day in and day out job seeker escalations, and they know the Zendesk tool, and they know what is a repeatable broken experience versus something new that's coming in. So we have now been able to, all of the team members are in new job profiles. We worked with our HR team. New titles, new compensation, everything has been designed around building out a agile continuous improvement team that focuses on being the job seeker advocates. We do still have some team members supporting escalations and working in Zendesk. We integrated Slack for our Q&A channel with our outsourced agents. That was one of our improvement initiatives. So we do still have some of that work, but all of our team members are accountable for and delivering really great data insights, seeking out enhancements to the business, designing new workflows, and all of the fun operational improvement work that we're doing.
So from ticket solvers to customer advocates in a short period of time.
Yeah.
Can we ask what's next for you?
Yeah, the what's next is the shoot for the moon. We now that we have a really solid foundation, we're really excited about thinking big and saying it. And when I say thinking big, how do we get to know more tickets? How do we prevent those from coming in? I know we touched on that, but that to me is something that should be everyone's goal in consumer affairs or contact center, customer support, even client support, client success. We should always be seeking to eliminate root causes. And then, of course, the other big one is eliminating that non-value added work. We're all, I think, experiencing so much right now with companies just struggling a little bit. It's really made us think so intentional and purposely about how do we get the most value out of what we do every day. Mm-hmm. So it starts with identifying where you have non-value added work, and then the prioritization over and over again every day.
Jeanne, thank you so much. We are at time, and we did not even get to all the questions in the chat that we had for you. So thanks for sharing your insights and your experience, and good luck in the next year with all your plans and strategy.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Thanks for all the great questions too.
Yes, and thank you to everybody for joining us today. Thank you for sharing your time with us and with Jeanne. If you want to let us know what you thought of today's session, there is a survey link in the chat, and 10 random respondents will be chosen, and you can win a $5 Starbucks gift card. We will not have a CX moment in December, but we do have a really special event on December 13th. Cue the sparkling, the future of AI in CX. And our Zendesk CTO, Adrian McDermott, will share insights around the impact of AI on customer experience and what's to come for the next 5 to 10 years. Registration link in the chat. CX Moment will return in January. Until the next time, from everyone at Zendesk, take care, and we will see you very soon.